Alright, so as promised, this is going to be a bit of a follow-up video to the other Lunalight video I uploaded only a couple of days ago, showcasing all the brand new support, because obviously, the brand new skill for the deck has just dropped. Now, the deck list of this video is a little bit different to what I thought it was going to be, as we've had to update it a bit, because the skill they released wasn't what I thought they were going to do with it. It turns out the restriction they put on it is worded so poorly, it doesn't mean what we thought it means. It's actually way better than we thought it was. So let's get into this deck list. Alright, so the only changes with it, we've included basically just more copies of Black Sheep. Why? Well, the skill, which we thought was going to have an insane restriction on it, turns out isn't that strict at all. So each of the following effects can be used once per duel. You cannot activate the effects of monsters you send to the graveyard or cards with the same name. Send one Lunalight monster from your hand to the graveyard, change on polymerization in your hand to one Lunalight fusion. Send one Lunalight monster from your hand to the graveyard, send one Lunalight monster from your deck or extra deck to the graveyard. So obviously, if you've just read this skill for the first time, you're probably thinking, damn, that sucks. Sending cards to the graveyard and I can't even use their effects, what's the point? Well, as it turns out, that's not how the skill works at all. It just stops the card you send from your hand to the graveyard, not the one you sent from deck. So if you're playing 3 copies of Black Sheep, you can grab any of those cards you just sent to the graveyard and then just quite happily use their effects. It also means you can send copies of things like your Marten to the graveyard and then use your Marten. It means this card is basically a 1-card combo now, since you can just put it on the field, discard one of your Lunalights from your hand, put your Kaleido Chick in grave, bounce the Kaleido Chick to the field, Kaleido Chick, send your Marten, blah blah blah, combo, and essentially it's just, the skill is so much better than we thought it was going to be, and I'm very thankful for it. The only other changes to this deck list compared to the video I just uploaded is I've added an extra copy of Malevolent Sin and cut one of the fusions. I just found it was easier to OTK when you have this thing as well, especially considering there's a lot of times when you just want to kill your opponent through rank 4s alone, not worrying about the fusions as much. And yeah, that's basically the only changes. I've also included a copy of White Rabbit. Turns out this thing is a lot better than I thought it was in this deck, because its effect also applies to cards in your Pendulum Zones. So you'll see that in the first replay anyway, so yeah, let's get into the actual replays. Alright, so if you're wondering why I'm recording this all in one take rather than doing a bunch of editing and stuff, it's because I don't have a whole lot of time today. I'm actually recording this at like 12:41 past midnight, so yeah. Alright, so let's get into the replays. Alright. But if you do enjoy this video, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and all that kind of stuff. We're getting pretty close to 90k by now, so if you guys do enjoy this kind of content, we'll see more deck lists and more, I don't know, videos from me in the future. Remember to like, subscribe, and yeah, hope you're enjoying. Alright, let's get into these replays. Starting off with a Dark Magician player, I believe. I also thought it was kind of pointless for me to upload another entire Lunalight video and go through the deck list in its entirety as much as I did, because we just uploaded one, so yeah. So I just do this in one take instead, be a bit quicker. Alright, so up against a Dark Magician player, thankfully, not the other version of Dark Magician, which is a little bit more annoying. Despite being very good against targeting effects, their Banish, hitting things like your Pendulum monster, can be really annoying, especially considering they have ways to out-on-targeting monsters, like the big hand trap they have. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is activate our skill, sending a copy of our Black Sheep, because we don't need it this turn, we've already got the good cards in our hand, and we're just going to send a copy of your Kaleido to get it in play. Because now I'm going to use my White Rabbit to revive that Kaleido. Kaleido can now send the Marten, activating the Tiger. White Rabbit can now use the Tiger on field and the Kaleido Chick to then bounce both his back row. Thankfully, it turns out he didn't really have a whole lot of back row there, dude, who's baiting with only 1 back row, so. Alright. So Tiger now going to revive, Marten bouncing the Tiger. Chick sending a copy of Wolf for later on. You'll see me do that in a lot of replays. Having Wolf in the graveyard is fantastic in this deck list, because obviously Black Sheep can add it back to your hand basically whenever you need it, to then go for your various fusion plays. Alright, making Malevolent Sin, because obviously this guy potentially has a really annoying hand trap to buff the shit out of this card, so we're just going to banish it so we don't have to deal with that. Alright. Tiger reviving. Kaleido Chick sending. Putting a copy of the anti-target in the graveyard as well, for potentially other reasons, or for future turns if he managed to survive. And he is conceded. Because obviously we're just going to go into a fusion summon there and he was just dead, so... Alright, so this is up against an Orcus player. I don't think I used the skill in this replay. This is just me just dunking on an Orcus player, and I thought you guys would enjoy that. I certainly enjoy dunking on Orcus players. Alright, so Tenki's going to search for a Tiger. Emerald Bird's going to discard a card. So, one of the main reasons this skill is a pretty decent buff for the deck list as well, is because this turn 1 play you're about to see, where I end on 2 Xyz monsters, it requires you to have a discard. So in this case, I have Emerald Bird, so Emerald Bird can discard, and I can do it via that way. But if I didn't have Emerald Bird, it's really hard to get a card in Graveyard, meaning I essentially wouldn't have a target for my first Tiger's effect. So yeah, it's good to have, the skill basically fixes that problem as well. Alright, so Tiger's going to be reviving. Cloudcheek's going to be sending the Martin. Bouncing back the Tiger, going for the Abyss Dweller. Should have put that in defense, by the way. I've actually died a couple of times today because I didn't put this in defense, so I really should learn by now. Alright, sending in my Nightmare. Again, I sent a Wolf to the graveyard for if my opponent survives. I now have an easy access to it if I need it. Abyss Dweller, as soon as I see it's an Orcus player. Orchestrated return, discarding, putting down some back row. Alleviation, sending some more cards to the graveyard. Basically, I just wanted to get a copy of my White Rabbit. So White Rabbit reviving, adding back the White Rabbit to my hand, because obviously it was negated when it was summoned by Tiger, so I had to add it back with Martin first, then normal summon it again. Now I can target both his back row. Turns out it was just nothing anyway. All these cards are going to become a copy of my Theo Dancer, and I didn't even have to use my, didn't even have to go into a Nightmare Phoenix or something like that, so I've just kept my whatever the card is, rank 4 on the field, ready for my opponent does manage to survive this turn. I still have 2 flip face downs. Yeah, my Nightmare. Yeah, and that guy got really shit on. Alright. Up against a Japanese player by looks of things. Let's see if I can read his name. There's a Ko something? Take or something? Something like that. Yeah, I'm getting better at Japanese. It's taken a while though. I think that's all that says. It's something similar. Alright. So BLS players go on first. And he sets up what looks like a pretty shit field. But it turns out, spoiler alert, he actually has an Effect Veiler as well, so it's not as bad as it looked like at first glance. Alright, so Alleviation, going to be setting my 2 cards to the graveyard. Setting this card because I don't particularly need it this turn, and of course getting the Kaleido in play. So reviving the Kaleido. Kaleido sending the Martin. Martin can now bounce this. I'm going to go for a Nightmare. So I'm pretty sure as soon as I summoned this, I thought I was just going to win. I kind of forgot Effect Veiler was a thing. Just going to get rid of this back row. And get Veilered. So now we're in a bit of a spot of bother. Maybe played a bit too heavily into that. Alright, Tiger reviving the Kaleido. Kaleido sending to the graveyard, ready for my Wolf of course. Wolf going for a fusion summon. He has a Crackdown. He actually had to use this Crackdown here, by the way, because if I got to banish this card, it would have been very bad, because it would have meant that he'd either use this before the battle phase or during the battle phase, both of which he would just die to. Because if he activates Crackdown now, he can't use it during the battle phase. So he has to activate Crackdown now, steals the Phoenix, I can just make my fusion monster, beat over it, nuke the field, that kills his BLS, hit him in the face again. Or it goes to battle phase and he can't use it because this thing would have stopped him from using it. So he's forced to use the Crackdown early, which means he can no longer use it as some sort of blocking sort of effect. And if he didn't steal it at all and just decide to do nothing and just let the battle phase go through, he would have died because I had Nightmare Phoenix, which would be able to hit him in the face as well as the Ludolite Dancer. But yeah, unlucky. I think I explained that very poorly, but hopefully you smart people can understood what I was saying. Alright. I cannot read this guy's name. This guy's all in Katakana and I have no clue how to read that. Absolutely zero clue how to read any of that. Alright, so this is a very bad looking hand, because we've got a lot of names in here, and because they're all names of cards we actually want to use this turn, we can't really use our skill for it, so not a great hand. That's why you want to run so many Loonlight with different names, so you can sort of fix this a bit. Alright, so instead I'm going to sort of bite the bullet here, so I can no longer use this card's effect this turn, but at least I can set up a couple of rank 4s still. Just means I can't send as many cards to the graveyard, which feels pretty bad, but yeah, we still set up our rank 4 field. And we're against a possible mirror, and this mirror really hates one particular card. The Evilswarm Nightmare. Non-target removal versus a deck that's all about trying to stop target stuff. Not the greatest. Also, Abyssal is really nasty versus this deck as well. So this guy for some reason goes for this extremely early. Summons out Leo Dancer, of course. Yeah, you know what's going to happen to this card. We'll let him have the animation though, of course. It is a pretty sick animation. Actually a pretty dope animation. Of course, that thing's going to take a little nap. Tenki's searching for a Martin. He can't do anything for the rest of his turn, so he just passes. Alright, my turn. Tiger reviving. Player Chick sending. Bouncing back, keeping this pretty simple, we're just going to make a Malevolent Sin, and we already have Lethal on field. But I decide, because now I have a bunch of seconds left on the clock, I might as well do a bit of BMing. Alright. Yeah, Malevolent Sin is pretty much it feels like a requirement in this deck list when you're playing something like Nightmare, because a lot of the time you put things face down, and it's a lot easier just to banish those cards than to try to swing into them, where they'll just be little shields for your opponent. I know, I just really liked the Nightmare or the Malevolent Sin in here. You don't have to play this card. You can play the other Loonlight Fusion if you want it. Alright, Tiger gonna be reviving. Black Sheep discarding, adding back the Wolf. Clado Chick sending. Wolf, of course, can now conduct a Fusion Summon using the card on field. There's my Leo Dancer. And yeah, he is very, very, very dead. Alright, now for the final replay. And this final replay, it's a little bit of a meme. I decided I was going to give a BLS player a bit of a challenge. I decided I wanted to test something. Because I was curious, because I was putting all this work into beating BLS players by trying to make, like, the Abyss Dweller and the Evilswarm Nightmare and setting up all that stuff to try to stop your opponent playing the game or trying to stop the BLS player. And then I kind of thought, I wonder how hard it is for a BLS player just to out your main boss monster. So, this duel I set out with one goal. Just summoning the boss monster. So I'm going to Tenki, searching for my Black Sheep. Alleviation. Now I'm going to use the Tiger to resummon that. I don't know why I didn't just use the Black Sheep to add this card back to hand and then just do it that way. Either way, Martin's going to bounce this back to hand. Now I can summon the Kaleido. Making the dude. Oh yeah, because I need to search for a poly, that's why I'm done. Alright, past me was smarter than current me. Alright, and the cards on field, we're going to make our Leo Dancer. And now the goal is, can my opponent somehow out this thing? Which it turns out I looked up afterwards, just looked at the deck list to try to find and discussed in my Discord a little bit, to try to see if there's any ways that they could actually out this. Turns out it's not that hard. They just have to make the Warrior Link monster and then get out like another BLS with it. Then they can crash into it, which does technically work. It does require like 2 different BLS monsters and the Magistus monster, because they have to out the Tenki as well, because the Tenki attack boosting this stops that play working. So they have to out the Tenki, get that Fire Warrior monster out, then summon out another BLS, and then they can out it. So it is technically outable. It's just very hard. And for this guy, it was even harder, because this guy, he's a little bit illiterate. Alright, so he's going to use this effect. He grabs a copy of the Fram. That's an interesting play. Decides to swing into the Leo Dancer. Ah yes, that definitely works. Anyways, that's good for today's replays. I don't necessarily recommend that being the correct way to play into BLS, but I thought it was a pretty funny one, so I decided to save the replay anyway. Hope you guys enjoyed these replays. If you did, remember to leave a like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, hope you guys see the next one. Thank you guys for watching. Laters.